Well, welcome everyone. My name is Bruce Mans. I'm an associate dean in the graduate school and director of our postdoc office at CU Anschutz, and we are very excited to welcome you today to Postdoctoral Pathways, where we'll get to talk with you about our institution and why you might want to consider us when you are thinking about your training. As we go through the session today, we'll encourage you to use the chat feature to put your questions in. We'll have time for some Q&A at the end, but capture those as those questions come up. We'll come back and address them when we get to that portion of the session. Before we kick off, though, we want to figure out a little bit more about our audience. So we're just going to start today with a very quick poll. So three questions, I believe.
Hopefully people can see that.
Okay, can you see the poll? Can we get a, yep, here we go. Okay. Yeah, so we'll just take, 30 seconds or so. Just want to know currently what's your position, your timeline, and what you're thinking about CU Anschutz. Take another 10 seconds or so. Look at that. Okay. So I'm going to close the poll. There we go. And we'll share the results. So looks like primarily PhD students. Great. That's what we're hoping to see. 91% of you. Postdocs, maybe thinking about opportunities to continue that training. Most people are looking within the next year. Some people 1 to 2 years. Small percentage looking in the next 3 years. So perfect. At the end of today's session, we'll show you some ways, if you're looking right now, how you can find some of those opportunities. Actively looking for postdocs. Great. For those who are not, just glad we have an opportunity to get on your radar. And current impressions. So heard of Boulder, what's an Anschutz? Seems like the winner. Not surprisingly, a lot of people aren't really familiar with who CU Anschutz is or what we do here. Also thinking of, we're just kind of run-of-the-mill along with every other R1 medical university. 28% of you answered this correctly, which is that we are a world-renowned research powerhouse. So for the rest of you, we're not going to try to convince you or persuade you, but we're going to lay out, I think, a pretty strong case for why you should think about CU Anschutz is really a preeminent spot to do your training. All right, thanks everybody for participating in that. So as I mentioned, my name is Bruce Mans. What we're going to do today is really talk about how you can use a postdoc to move forward in your career and the ways that at CU Anschutz we can support you in that process. We're going to start off with an overview of the medical campus. I'm going to talk maybe 20, 25 minutes. I'll try to keep it on the briefer side. I'm getting ribbed a little bit because that's hard for me to do. I'm going to introduce you to the postdoc office team, talk about some of the resources we have. We have a great representative from our Postdoctoral Association, Dr. Katie Renard, who you'll get to hear from towards the end of this. And then you also have an opportunity to talk to Katie and then 2 of our faculty leaders on campus, Dr. Jared Brown and Dr. Lori Sussel. So we're hoping that this is an opportunity to really give you a good idea of why you might want to think about CU Anschutz for your training and hear directly from some of the people who you might be working with while you are here. So CU Anschutz is one of 4 universities within the Colorado system. As mentioned in that poll, people have heard of Boulder. So Boulder is our flagship campus. Now that we have Coach Prime, even more people have been paying attention to CU Boulder. There's also the University of Colorado Denver, which is a primarily undergraduate campus that is located right in the heart of downtown Denver. University of Colorado Anschutz, which is where we are at and where we'll tell you more about today, is in the northeast corner of Denver in Aurora. And then the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. And so we have these circled on the map. Boulder is about a 35-minute drive from the Anschutz campus, of course, depending on traffic, tucked kind of up in the northwest corner of the map. Denver and Aurora, are Anschutz and UC Denver are about 15 miles apart. UCCS is about 80 miles away, but it really only takes about an hour to get down there. All of the green that you see on the left side of the map, that is the foothills. So if you haven't been to Denver before, kind of no matter where you are, you can always orient yourself geographically because you just look west and then you get to see the beautiful mountains. One point that I want to make, though, is just in the naming convention and why it's important to know the relationship between the University of Colorado Denver and the University of Colorado Anschutz. So we are partner institutions who are very closely entwined in a lot of ways. One of those is in our grants naming conventions. And so when you look in NIH Reporter, and this will kind of come up later, you're really going to see University of Colorado Denver. You're not going to see University of Colorado Anschutz. So again, just to know that we are separate institutions. The Denver campus is primarily undergraduate focused. One of the things that's really unique about the Anschutz campus is that we are a freestanding biomedical health center. So we are the largest academic health center in the Rocky Mountain region. We have 6 health and professional schools. So there is the School of Medicine, the Colorado School of Public Health, the Skaggs School of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences, the School of Dental Medicine, the College of Nursing, and the Graduate School. In addition to those schools and colleges, we have over 60 centers and institutes. So we'll talk about some of those or give some highlights of some of those. One of the things that's unique about our campus, though, is that we share this space with 2 nationally top-ranked hospitals. So Children's Hospital Colorado, phenomenal mission, great to be a part of the same proximity as them, to share in the work that we do, and University of Colorado Health. Those are both located right on campus. We have a pretty big impact. So we are ranked number 11th worldwide in the 2025 Nature Index. So this is just a measure of kind of how health science institutes, research, clinical care contribute to overall global health. And we get a lot of funding. So we had over $910 million in annual sponsored research funding and gifts. On campus, we have about 1,500 principal investigators, so lots of people doing research and opportunities for you to do training. One of the other things that's unique about Anschutz is because we are so intertwined between our clinical operations and our research operations, is that we really are translational in the work that we do, from basic science through clinical care. The bench to bedside that we talk about, we live that here. We are leading in a lot of specific disease areas like Alzheimer's and diabetes and Down syndrome, obesity, mental health, and more. For example, we just had a transformative gift from the Anschutz Foundation, a $50 million challenge gift to really focus on mental health care. And so we're going to be doing a lot in the coming years to focus on expanding research into those spaces. The Cancer Center, so we are an NCI designated comprehensive cancer center, so one of only 50 in the US. We have a new partnership to leverage AI to really focus on trying to address challenges within pancreatic cancer. Again, because we have all of these different centers that work in concert together, we can build very strong collaborations. The Center for Health AI, the Colorado Center for Personalized Medicine, and the Department of Bioinformatics are partnering together to really work in the space of AI and medical research. NIH is spending $130 million over 4 years on the Bridge to AI project, and we are a significant player in some of that space. We recently launched a partnership with a company called Verily that brings together folks who are working at CU Anschutz and UC Health to focus on multi-omic data sets to really identify drug discovery, delivery, and clinical trials. And then in addition to some of those things, CU Innovations, which is our tech transfer office on campus, really is a leader both nationally and certainly within Colorado in helping take those primary discoveries that happen in the clinic or happen in the research lab and move those forward into commercializable projects. So there are a lot of ways that being co-localized with all of these different hospitals, researchers, disease states provides a lot of opportunity to build those strong collaborations. We have pictured here Dr. Rick Sen. Rick was a postdoc for us. He is now a senior field application scientist Rick is one of our stock images here that we have. So postdocs have a presence in a lot of different spaces on Anschutz. He's actually also on the wall in the CU Anschutz Health Science building. We discovered him kind of hanging out there when he was on campus giving an alumni talk. So that was kind of fun. But the research that we do really is top notch. I mean, we mentioned, the research powerhouse kind of thing. And I'm not just saying that as a sales pitch. It's actually true. This again is where that naming convention comes into play. If you go into NIH Reporter and you search up University of Colorado Anschutz, you're not going to get any hits. But if you pull up University of Colorado Denver, you will. The majority of research funding, the overwhelming majority of research funding that you will see in NIH Reporter actually is on the Anschutz Medical Campus. This is just looking at overall NIH grant recipients. This was updated just recently, but you can see that we are 17th in the country. My guess is that you would expect a lot of those other institutions on this list, Hopkins, UCSF, Michigan, but we're right there with them. We also have funding within the ARPA-H space. So if you're not familiar with this, the ARPA-H program is designed to rapidly accelerate cures for diseases, things like that. They modeled it off of the Defense Department and the DARPA programs. And so really it's an exciting opportunity to take very innovative projects and ideas and get them into transforming patients' lives in a very fast fashion. So we have Dr. Michael Zusek and Dr. Karen Payne have an ARPA-H award. We have actually a couple ARPA-H awards on our campus. We also have a Clinical Translational Sciences Award. So the Colorado Clinical and Translational Sciences Institute, this recently was renewed. They provide a lot of training opportunities to connect our campus. I'll tell you a little bit more about some of the programmings that they offer that would support you as a postdoc as we get into it. But it's really a pretty prestigious institute to bring together community research, clinical research, basic science research, and unify the campus. The Linda Cernick Center for Down Syndrome, they recently had an $18 million grant to develop additional strategies to study Down syndrome. And the School of Medicine recently established, they had a $64 million award to establish a palliative care research consortium. So again, the disease states that we cover on this campus really span all of the kinds of challenges that are facing human health. But it's beyond just the research piece. And this is where it matters more for you as postdocs. We have a tremendous number of training grants on campus. We're actually 10th in the country right now with 30 of those training grants. You can see a list of those on the postdoc office website. We'll send you some links to that. But if you're thinking about opportunities to advance your own career, applying to one of the training grants we have right now is a great place to start some of those opportunities. Again, these are usually focused in specific disease states, but they also all share those opportunities for your own career and professional development. And then individually, when you look at F32s, which are the NRSAs for postdocs, we're tied with UNC Chapel Hill for 7th in the country. We run a program that actually supports your ability to get some feedback on your NRSAs before you put them in. But we have had a lot of success for our postdoc community actually going out and obtaining their own independent funding. So again, in the research space, whether it is the diversity of the kinds of fields that we study, whether it is the research grants that we have, or the training mechanisms, regardless of what you look at, we really are up there with a lot of those prominent institutions that you're typically thinking about as those powerhouse medical institutes. But here's where I think we really start to stand out. Okay? Because we are a standalone health sciences center, we actually are able to have some community in a smaller space. So one thing I didn't mention here about and I meant to for the F32s, this is not normalized by your postdoc population either, okay? So Stanford, 41, that's great. Stanford has 2,000 postdocs. CU Anschutz, we have 17, but we have 350 postdocs. And so again, when you think about where are we really stepping into the space and who are the people on our campus, we're really punching above our weight. But the point I wanted to make is that unlike Stanford with 2,000 postdocs, when you're on a campus that has 350 postdocs, you actually can get to know the rest of the postdoc community. We are small enough to have those connections to really build some strong partnerships, to get to know people, to experience part of that campus, where you don't get lost in the crowd that you do with some of those bigger institutions. But again, our research output is right up there with them. We have about 32% of our postdocs are international, and the average length of time that postdoc stays at our institution is 2.5 years. I know for a lot of PhD students, when you think about a postdoc, you may assume that that's going to be a 5-year kind of commitment. But really, how long you're here for training depends on what you want to do next. And if you're not interested in starting up your own lab and being a PI, there are a lot of opportunities to come do some training for a year or two, get some specialized expertise, build some connections, and transition out. So again, as you're thinking about this, there are a lot of things that a postdoc can prepare you for. And regardless of your goals, we're here to support you in that process. And where do people go, right? So a nice transition into that. As I mentioned before, Colorado, has these beautiful mountains that are close by. We're going to show you some nice pictures towards the end of this. But a lot of people who come out here decide, this is a pretty great place. I don't want to leave. So the majority of our postdocs actually end up staying in Colorado. Because we're health sciences, the other places you see typically are where people are going to industry. So higher populations more on the East Coast or the West Coast. We have about a pretty even split between who goes into academic careers or industry careers. So you can see about 32% of our postdoc population stays in academia, about a quarter of them go into industry research. And then we spread the gamut for the rest of those careers, whether it's moving into policy space, doing some additional training, teaching, science communication, medical writing. There really isn't a career out there right now where we don't have an alumni working in that sector. Again, when people stay in the faculty space, a lot of those do remain at CU Anschutz or within the region, so the University of Utah, Texas system. And for some companies, we have some bigger companies in and around the Denver metro area, but a lot of smaller to mid-sized bioscience companies. So some of these like Regeneron or Pfizer are those bigger ones. But Cogent is a smaller company in the Boulder metro area where we have a number of folks who've gone on to that. So again, lots of opportunities to transition into industry. If you want to go to, kind of bigger companies, oftentimes you do go to the coast, but we have a pretty vibrant life sciences sector that if you are interested in doing that and staying in Colorado, there are plenty of opportunities to make those transitions here. And to support you in that are myself, Dr. Aaron Golden, who is on the call, and also Dr. Hannah Hathaway. So there are 3 of us here who are supporting you in your postdoc training. One of the things that I think is very unique about us is that not only do we all work to support postdocs and that we all were postdocs, we all were actually postdocs here at some time. So when I did my postdoc on the Denver campus, I was involved with our postdoc association, and it really was that first opportunity for me to see what careers in administration are like, and it was a pretty formative thing. When I was director of the postdoc office, I got to work with Aaron and Hannah when they were both involved in the postdoc association. Hannah was actually the president and Aaron was her vice president. And all the fun things that we got to do with that postdoc association, they now get to do as their full-time jobs. So we understand not just what it's like to be a postdoc, but what it's like to be a postdoc at our institution. The 3 of us work, very much focused on how do we address some of the specific challenges that we see postdocs experiencing here, whether it's because we went through it or we had peers and colleagues who went through it. The way that we do this, the Career Development Office, which is where Hannah and I are really focused, that's all about how do you figure out what is it that you want to do and how do you move on in those careers. The postdoc office is really about how do we welcome you to campus? How do we bring you into this space? How do we make sure that you feel connected and that you belong? And then we work very closely with the Postdoc Association. The Postdoc Association is an autonomous group, so it really is the voice of the postdocs on campus, but we're here to support them, to help them celebrate and make sure that issues that are facing the postdoc community are elevated to the right level. For career development, we focus, our approach is it all starts with you. Okay, oftentimes when we talk to people, they say, well, what can I do? Well, you can do a lot of things. What do you want to do? And that's where we really help you unpack that, identify the kind of careers you're interested in, connect you with those alumni to do things like informational interviewing, set up opportunities for you to try to test some of that stuff out, and then come back and reflect on it. But our focus to career development is really you-centric. It's all about your goals. There's no one thing that you can do. So how do you uncover what you find most meaningful, and then how do you get the right kinds of experiences to make those transitions? We help you in a number of different ways with that. So we offer career skills training, so workshops focused on things like career exploration and planning, informational interviewing, how do you get that CV and resume tailored. But then also those kinds of things that you're going to need to be able to do regardless of the career you go into. Emotional intelligence, understanding your own personality. So what makes you unique? What kind of value do you add? Learning to manage difficult conversations or stress and anxiety, those things that just come with this phase of your career that will be important for you to be successful going forward. So we offer workshops, recurring workshops, monthly workshops, where you have an opportunity just to sample some of that. We also do some innovative programming. So we have the Individual Career Exploration Research Program, or iSearch program. This is a cohort-based program. We offer it twice a year. It's a semester long. It's about 8 sessions, but it's an opportunity for you to go through this process of career exploration with a cohort of your peers. One of the things that we do in the iSearch program is that we also set up some site visits, so you have opportunities to go explore some companies and hear directly from people working in the bioscience space. It heavily focuses on informational interviewing and getting you connected to alumni, but people at the end of the iSearch program have much more confidence understanding what they're interested in doing and knowing how to make those transitions. If that's not enough, we also offer virtual coaching. So if you ever want to talk about a resume, you want to prep for an interview, you want to get some feedback on negotiating strategies, you can set up a time to meet with either me or Hannah to help ensure that you're feeling confident when you're going into whatever step of your career transition you're in. And then finally, we offer those opportunities to hear from alumni. So we're frequently bringing back either postdoc alumni or PhD alumni, so you can hear about the diversity of careers that people have gone into. This is a picture of Dr. Mark Lucera, who was a postdoc, member of our postdoc association as well. He went on and did a AAAS Science and Technology Policy Fellowship. He then worked for the White House for a number of years doing policy, and now he's doing consulting in the DC area, working for, or not consulting, working for a nonprofit focused on solving global health challenges. So again, opportunities to hear from people about Mark is not just here's what he's doing, but here's how he actually navigated that path from being a postdoc at Anschutz to the career that he really loves. In addition to the offerings that the career development has, I mentioned the CCTSI before. So they offer a number of trainings that are really great to help you develop as a researcher, develop as a scientist. So communicating your science to the public, research management and leadership trainings, teaming for researchers, team science, you probably heard is a pretty big thing. Well, how do you do that effectively? They also offer some grant review programs. So if you're going to put in that F-32, as I mentioned, there's an opportunity for you to actually submit that to this program where your grant will undergo a mock review, so you can get some feedback from people before you submit it. About 40% of the people who have participated in that program actually go on to get their Fs funded. They offer a very similar program for K mechanisms. So if you're going to put in a K99, you get that same feedback, or if you're going to put in a K01 or some other kind of K. So lots of opportunities for you to get some feedback on your grants to help you be more successful with that process. The Postdoc Association, as I mentioned, is really focused on helping you find community. Being part of the Postdoc Association, though, it also gives you those opportunities to start building evidence of your leadership abilities. So it's great to say that you went to a workshop. It's even better to say, here's how I put what I learned into practice. Holding a position on the PDA gives you an opportunity to get some of that experience, but it also helps you make new friends and connect with people who are similarly interested in improving the postdoc experience. Lots of opportunities that the Postdoc Association creates for you to share your research, whether that is through a monthly seminar series, giving you an opportunity to practice a talk that you're going to give at an upcoming conference, or you just want to talk about a different topic and get more experience with that. We do an annual postdoc research symposium called Postdoc Research Day. So you see a flyer from the last session that we had where the theme was navigating the unknowns. PDRD is organized by the Postdoc Association, so you really have an opportunity in organizing a symposia, inviting speakers, figuring out the program. These are all the kinds of things that you're going to do at some point if you move into a faculty career as well. And if you don't, this is a great opportunity to talk about project management, skills that you built for that. So lots of ways that getting involved with the PDA can help you professionally, whether it is giving a research talk or gaining some of that practical experience. And then networking events. So we have monthly networking events for you to get together with postdocs over a cup of coffee. We have a pretty neat program called Shadow a Fellow Postdoc program, where this pairs up postdocs in different disciplines. So you may be a basic science researcher and you get paired up with a clinical postdoc so you can learn more about what is that flavor of research really like. You'll spend a half day or so working in just seeing each other's lab and then get a chance just to connect. So again, ways for you to expand your own network and really feel connected to our campus. And Katie can tell you much more about the Postdoc Association and her experiences with it as well. And then the postdoc office. So here we're really about setting you up for success. So we run a new postdoc orientation to welcome you in, talk more detail about all of the resources that I kind of gave you the overview of. We have entrance surveys and exit surveys, annual postdoc performance review. Aaron runs a postdoc community conversation, so an opportunity just to bring members of the postdoc community together to talk about issues that support their training. We have a postdoc policy that is pretty well aligned with the National Postdoctoral Association's recommended practices and policies document. And we serve on the NPA and the Association of American Medical Colleges postdoc groups so that we really are connected to what are those trends and best practices for supporting postdoctoral training. And we really work to advocate those to try to get those into our university institutional policies. The postdoc office is a sustaining member of the National Postdoc Association. So as a postdoc here, you actually get free affiliate membership. So you can attend their, they do monthly professional development webinars, things of that nature. We always send a member of our postdoc association to the annual meeting. And so an opportunity for you could actually attend an MPA meeting to hear from other postdocs about the kind of programs they have at their institutions. Okay, nuts and bolts of things. So you want to talk about probably what does it mean to be a postdoc here? So we have a competitive salary policy. So our policy requires that all postdocs are compensated at or above their experience level according to the NIH NRSA rates. We have, this is something that actually makes us very unique relative to other institutions. We have a single comprehensive job code that does not depend on funding source. So what this means for you at a lot of institutions when you're looking at it, when you get hired on and your advisor is supporting you with their R01, you're a postdoc employee. And so you get full health, dental, all of those kinds of benefits. But then you're successful and you get an F32 and now you become a postdoc fellow, which is no longer an employee, and you'll lose all those benefits. So our institution has actually invested in our postdoc community so that regardless of how you're funding, you have consistent benefits across that entire time. So if you get a fellowship, if you don't have a fellowship, you always get full medical, dental, vision. Your benefits don't change based on how you're funded. Our postdocs don't get the university matched retirement plan, but as employees, they are eligible for all of the voluntary retirement plans. So you do have access to retirement benefits as well as a tuition waiver assistance. So if you want to take a class, you can take up to 12 credits a year of a course at any one of our university system campuses. Postdocs have all university holidays plus 12 sick days and 12 vacation days and are included in our paid parental leave policies. So the university provides 6 weeks of paid parental leave. And the state of Colorado has a program called Family, which can provide up to an additional 6 weeks of supplemented parental leave. And then loan deferment. I believe that's still a thing that you can apply for, again, working in institutions. So as a loan deferment, we consider our postdocs equivalent to medical residents. So if you have student loans during your time as a postdoc, you can actually have those deferred. Okay. But this is the good stuff then, right? So outstanding research opportunities, outstanding training opportunities, all these things that are great. But you get to do this here in Denver, Colorado, where we really have some unbeatable views. So these are pictures, not stock images. These are pictures that actually Aaron took just driving around the Denver metro area. or driving around Colorado. We're a year-round state. Hiking, biking, camping, climbing, skiing. There's really, if you like doing anything outdoors, Colorado has that, and then some. Also, a cultural scene, whatever you're into here. So Red Rocks Amphitheater is a great place to see shows. We have lots of microbrews, lots of art museums, cuisine. Denver is a pretty happening city itself. We have championship sports teams, so I can actually say that now because it used to be we were like, oh, we had the Avs, but it's a good time to be a Denver fan right now. We don't talk about the Rockies. I was going to make an Encanto joke. They're like Bruno. We don't talk about the Rockies. So probably dated myself with that one anyway. But lots of fun things to do to get out and see. So again, stepping outside of the lab, getting away, whether it is going into the mountains or it's going to see a show. There are lots of things for you to do to help you really feel connected to the city as a whole. And then a competitive cost of living. So we're not going to lie and tell you that Denver is a cheap place to live. But when you actually look at the cost of living index, we are 10th in the country for cost of living. And so relative to those other places that you might go, Seattle, Boston, LA, San Francisco, where you're going to get the kind of research opportunities and contributions and output that we have at this campus, we are significantly cheaper than a lot of our competing cities. So again, between our salary policies, the benefits policies, those kinds of things, and Denver being relatively cost effective to some of those other big cities where you do this kind of work, we think we're a pretty good choice. And we have a lot to offer. So I'm then wrapping up my portion of this. So I'm going to now, and happy to take questions when we get to the Q&A part if you want more details about any of this kind of stuff. But I don't want to talk anymore. I want to give you an opportunity to hear from one of our current postdocs, Dr. Katie Renard.
Cool. Thanks, Bruce. Yeah, hi, everyone. So I'm Katie. I'm a third-year postdoc here at CU Anschutz. Just to give you kind of a brief overview of my background, I did my bachelor's in nutritional science at Iowa State University, and then I went to University of Illinois to do a PhD in nutritional science. And I did stay there a year as a postdoc in a nutrition and animal science lab. And then actually I realized in my nutrition training that there was a pretty big gap in knowledge in our field, which is that we don't understand how nutrition impacts the cellular and molecular mechanisms guiding brain development. And so this was of great interest to me. And so I kind of did a search of different universities where I could do a different type of postdoc and stumbled upon Anschutz. And so I started my postdoc here in 2022 in the section of developmental biology in the Department of Pediatrics. And so this has been a really great opportunity, and I'll highlight some of those opportunities in the next slide. But I also wanted to say that through the opportunities here at Anschutz, I was able to apply for a K-99 through the NIH last year and just received the award in August of this year. And so hopefully in a couple of years, I'll be able to start my own research lab. Yeah, Bruce, if you want to go to the next one. Yeah, so I wanted to highlight 4 areas where I feel like CU Anschutz really shines, different opportunities that are here that aren't necessarily at every institution. As Bruce highlighted, we have some cutting edge research from basic science to clinical. I'm on the more basic science side of things. I work with a zebrafish model, but I've also had opportunities to collaborate with people in the section of nutrition, in neonatology. And I think because we have such a wide variety of research paths here, it's a great opportunity to collaborate and be exposed to different types of research that you may not have been otherwise. Another cool thing about Anschutz is just the mentoring opportunities. There are great mentors on campus, as well as great opportunities to be a mentor for younger trainees. For example, I was able to mentor a couple of undergraduate students through the Children's Hospital's child health research internship program for a couple of summers. And this was a really enriching opportunity for both me and hopefully my trainees as well. Another opportunity on campus is just lots of resources and ways to practice grant writing. This was helpful for me. I did have an F-32 when I first got here, and then as I mentioned with the K-99. I also was able to be part of a T-32 training grant my first year here, so there's just lots of opportunities for being a part of these training opportunities. And then also what's cool about Anschutz is there are also opportunities for getting your own independent funding. So through the Colorado Nutrition Obesity Research Center here and their pilot and feasibility program, I received a 2-year grant so I could do my own experiments. And this was a really cool thing that I don't think is offered in a lot of other institutions. And then lastly, I wanted to highlight the opportunities here for community involvement and for enhancing postdoc life through being a part of the Postdoctoral Association that Bruce talked a lot about. So I've been the treasurer on the Postdoc Association Exec Council for 2 years, or maybe close to 3 now. And it's been a really great opportunity to be involved and to interact with other postdocs and to just form a network that, and a lot of institutions, including the one I was at previously, I didn't really feel like I had a group of postdocs that I could go to and talk to. But here I feel like we really have a great community. So those are just four things I wanted to highlight that I think are valuable about CU Anschutz, and happy to take any questions later about any of these things. So thanks.
Taking over, Aaron.
I'm taking over. Sorry, just
awesome.
having trouble finding my unmute. Awesome. Well, thanks, Katie. I really appreciate that overview from the postdoc perspective, and Bruce for sharing the first part of the presentation. So hi, everybody. I'm Erin Golden. As Bruce mentioned, I'm the Assistant Director of the Postdoc Office. And I'm really excited for this next piece of the event to welcome 2 faculty members who are going to share kind of the faculty perspective on postdoc training at Anschutz. So first we have Dr. Lori Sussel, who is a professor and the research director at our Barbara Davis Center for Diabetes. And then Dr. Sussel also is the Associate Vice Chancellor for Basic Science Research. And then we also have Dr. Jared Brown, who's a professor in the Department of Pharmaceutical Sciences, was the Toxicology Graduate Program Director, and also directs the T32 in the school. So Dr. Sussel and Dr. Brown, I'm just going to start out by having you introduce yourselves. So Dr. Sussel, if you want to go first.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. So as Aaron said, I am a professor of pediatrics and cell and developmental biology, and I'm also the research director at the Barbara Davis Center. My research is very basic. I'm a PhD scientist, and we study islet biology, but how it relates to diabetes. And I think one of my goals or my roles on the campus is that I'm a very big advocate of basic science on a medical campus, because I think it's really the fundamental research that we do here that elevates clinical research.
Great, thank you. Dr. Brown.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. A pleasure to be here to talk to everybody today. Yeah, my name is Jared Brown. I'm a professor in the School of Pharmacy on the Anschutz campus. I've been here for about 13 or 14 years now. I also do very basic research. I came in doing that initially in my career, doing mostly, animal or cell-based research. But one thing the Anschutz campus has given me the ability to do is actually do a lot more translational research now. So we do a lot of work with clinical populations. We do a lot of field work, actually internationally and locally as well. And it all kind of feeds back to a lot of our basic science questions that we had. So for me, it's been a great place to be for some of those reasons in our research.
Fantastic. I was hoping that each of you could highlight kind of some research projects that are going on in your lab, and really the role or lab or your department or your school, and the role that postdocs are playing in those research studies. So.
I guess I'll start. So the Barbara Davis Center is really unique in that we're sort of a microcosm of the university, and that we're in one building, and we have the clinical research on the first, or the clinical seeing patients on the first floor, clinical research on the second floor, and then we have 2 floors of basic science research. And so in our lab, we work on islet biology to try and figure out why the immune system targets the insulin producing beta cells in type 1 diabetes. And but we also have 11 other faculty that are studying either the immunology of type 1 diabetes, which is an autoimmune disease, or we have a bioengineer. We have also physician scientists. So we're all here in one place. And I think for a postdoc coming in, what's really amazing is they can interact with both the basic science and the clinical scientists. And I've had many postdocs in my lab. They contribute it really depending on what their interests are. And I think just like Katie mentioned, she came in with a nutrition background and she's applying it to a different question. I think our postdocs come in, I study a lot of RNA biology. And so we have a postdoc that came in and with an expertise in studying RNA, and he's been able to link us up with the RNA biologists on campus and basically driving projects forward in my lab that are related to islet biology. So I think I could go on about all the contributions. I mean, we really value postdocs here because you bring in fresh ideas and fresh ways of thinking about something into our research programs and then elevate it and expand it.
So my lab, I'm a toxicologist by training, and in general, our goal in my lab is we're looking at the role of the environment in human health, basically. And so we have a lot of projects that are examining things like air pollutants, water pollutants, things like that contribute to human health and disease. And so I'll just highlight one particular project right now that we're working on is looking at chronic kidney disease. And this is like a non-traditional chronic kidney disease that's occurring around the world, and people are dying from this. Typically in their 20s to 40-year-old individuals, where they should not be getting chronic kidney disease at that age. And so we are working internationally. We're working in Sri Lanka, working in Thailand, working in Guatemala, and other countries in Central America as well, trying to figure out what the cause of the disease is. And so it's been fun because it's very basic stuff, looking at developing cell and animal models for the disease, but also doing translational research with clinical samples and doing field work and sample collection in the field and things like that as well. So I have currently right now just one postdoc in the lab, but we've had postdocs number over the years, like Lori's had it as well. They are involved in all aspects of the work, from coordinating the very basic science part of it to actually going and traveling. My postdoc and I went down to Nicaragua maybe about a year and a half or so ago to do some of the work that we do down there. And so they're involved in all those aspects of all the projects.
Great, thank you, Jared. Sorry, I thought of another question. So really, for both of you, I guess, you're really sitting at these intersections of clinical, translational, Jared, you're working with a lot of public health scientists as well. I guess both of you probably are. How do you encourage postdocs to develop those skills in being able to, talk to many different types of researchers? And I guess I'll put that into my next question, which is also about mentoring philosophy and how you postdocs develop skills that they would need in their training. Jared, Jared, I'll let you go first. Okay. Sorry.
Well, I mean, I'll say so to your second point, I'll start there first, Erin. Kind of my mentoring style, one of my key things in mentoring is communication for sure. And so I spend a lot of time when I'm in the lab, a lot of days going into the lab, talking to postdocs, everybody in the lab, not just postdocs, but trainees, everybody else, and just involved in the kind of the day-to-day of what's going on across the lab, across the university, across the projects, all that kind of stuff. So I think starting out, just developing the communication skills, just in that very basic sense, helps a lot. But then also put them in those opportunities. And so, taking postdocs or other trainees along on these, international trips or to the right conferences or whatever it might be, and put them in those right situations and introducing them to the right people and those kind of things, and just getting them out there, I think helps a lot with establishing those skills and confidence in doing some of that stuff.
Great.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. I think communication really is key, but I also think, and I think one of the strengths of our campus is collaboration as well, because I think, you can't work in a vacuum, and there's a lot of, my lab has expertise in islet biology, but then we collaborate a lot with the lab that has expertise in bioengineering. And I think having our postdocs interact with each other, the trainees, we have a weekly seminar series that the trainees, the postdocs, and the students give talks at. I think, like Jared said, taking students and postdocs out to meetings so that they can meet people that are in the research community, but also start to network, because that's where you're going to go and be able to get a job in the future, is those networking and skills that you have. So I think, we're collaborative on campus, but I think most of us have this philosophy that you really, to be successful, have to go outside of campus to expose yourself and communicate with other scientists.
I would just add real quick too, I think in my experience, the trainees that have been most successful over the years are the ones that are proactive in reaching out for those kind of things as well, right? So, Lori's example, if you need to work with bioengineering or somebody else, the postdocs that come in and say, oh, I need to reach out to such and such, maybe you make an introduction to them, but they're the ones that kind of drive that conversation, or the ones that are really successful, in my opinion and experience.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So I was looking through the questions that our audience submitted, and one of the things that came up is, what advice do you have for postdocs who are really looking for the right fit in their postdoctoral training? Finding the right PI or lab that aligns with both their research interests and their career goals. Kind of, what's your advice there? Laura, you're smiling and nodding, so I'll let you go first.
That's a really good question, because unlike, in grad school, you don't get to do rotations and get the feel. But I think something Jared said earlier was communication is key. You can be in a great lab, but if you cannot communicate with your PI, it's just not going to be a successful postdoc. So you have to be able to communicate and feel like comfortable meeting with the PI as an equal, as a peer. The other thing you want to really look for is, basically projects that can get you publications, because no matter what you want to do in your career, if you want to go into industry, if you want to go into academia, you really need to get those publications. So you want to step into a situation where you're supported to do research, and you're excited about that research, because if you're excited about that research, then you're going to be productive and you're going to have publications. I'll let Jared add to that.
I'd add maybe two things to that. One is looking for a lab where you might have some sort of freedom, right? So you don't want to just go into a lab where you're going to finish aim 3 on an R01 of somebody, but you do have, maybe that's where you start, but then you kind of, mold your own projects. So, in the end, particularly if you're going to academics, right, you want to develop your own area of research so you can take it forward with you, like Katie's doing with her K99, right? So you want to develop some area that you can actually move forward with. So having that freedom, I think, is a big one as well. The other one thing I would say too, and where I've seen things kind of fall apart in labs, is not just the relationship between the mentor and the trainee, but also the other lab members. So if you have an opportunity to visit the lab, meet with people and things like that, I would just make sure that that fit is also, reasonable, at least, at minimum. Because I have seen things fall apart not because the mentor-mentee relation, but more because of other people in the labs, things like that.
I think Jared's right. Like, I try and give, when people interview, an opportunity to go out to lunch with the lab without me, so you can get sort of a feel for the community and how the people in the lab interact. And I think what Jared said is exactly true. It's good to step into a project, but there should be a plan for you to actually start developing something that you can take as independent, especially if you want to go into an academic position.
Yeah, great. Katie, I wanted to see if you had anything additional that you wanted to jump in, not to put you on the spot there, but.
Well, I was gonna say all 3 of those like big things that both Lori and Jared mentioned. So, but just to reiterate, I think that the lab culture part is really important, because although you do interact with your mentor a lot, I mean, you're maybe interacting with your lab members even more, and so making sure that you have good communication with your lab members, and and with the mentor, the communication style, I think, is key, because I have encountered postdocs who have been with mentors who they don't see eye to eye, or they don't have the same sort of communication style. And although they both have good intentions, they just kind of butt heads a little bit. So yeah, those are key things to think about.
That's great. And what about timeline? That was another question that we got a lot about, was timeline. How far ahead of time should people be looking for their postdoc positions?
I think the sooner the better, honestly, because if you're right now, the labs have to plan in advance because of the funding issue. So even a year out is not too soon. If you're starting to think about what you want to do and where you want to live and what sort of area you're going to do research, I mean, it's never too early to reach out to a PI and say, okay, this is what my interests are, and start a communication way ahead of time. That way I can, like, for me, I can plan ahead. So if I maybe have funding for two people, and I know I'm going to get a postdoc, I might not take a graduate student. So I think it's really, it can't be too soon. It's nice to have a publication out so they can see you're productive, but that's not always necessary.
Yeah, I'd agree with that wholeheartedly as well. The only thing I would add to it is that just in my experience, I have never really advertised for a postdoc. It's always been people that have either reached out to me or I've met at conferences, things like that over the years, or know through other colleagues. And so they say that, let me know ahead of time, like maybe a year ahead of time, that they're going to be graduating and defending, and just kind of start that conversation, like Lori said. And it kind of grows from there for the most part.
Great.
Yeah,
Katie,
can I add to that? Because I think there's a misconception out there. Don't just look for advertisements.
Yeah.
Most of us do not advertise. It's if you're interested in a lab, talk to the PI, reach out. Don't wait for an advertisement, because I think it's really not how it often works.
Yeah, that tees us up nicely for the last part of the presentation before we go into the Q&A. Bruce will share some of the ways you can connect with faculty on campus, but I think that's a really good point, is largely positions available are not always transparent. So yeah. So what other ways do you encourage postdocs to build skills, and what other skills do you encourage them to build? So you talked a bit about communication. What else?
Communication is really key. I mean, you want to do your research, but you need to be able to go to meetings and go and put yourself out there. Have a poster, talk to labs that you're interested in. I think as scientists, sometimes it's hard for us to do that, but I think it's really important that communication piece is really important, and being able to network. So it's not just doing your research, but being able to communicate it and talk to people about your research and put yourself out there.
Yeah, and part of the communication is also writing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think getting a lot of experience writing. And so the more you can do that in a lab, the better. I mean, whether you go to academics or not, you're always going to be doing some sort of writing in your career as a PhD. And it's going to be a critical part of your career path, I think. A couple other things that I encourage my postdocs to do in the lab is, one, teach a little bit, particularly ones that want academic or more academically inclined. So I have a couple of graduate courses that I run, and so I'll just slot them in for a class here and there. So it's not like an overwhelming thing, but just gets them the experience to be able to do that kind of thing, right? So they prep a lecture, they give a lecture, that kind of stuff. The other thing I encourage them to do is also take leadership roles. So like either regional or national societies, there's always postdoc representatives for a lot of these societies. And so taking some of those roles, or on campus in the postdoc association, things like that, I think really help build those communication skills, organization skills, all that kind of stuff. And so it's helpful to see how those things are run and helps them with their career.
Fantastic. Katie, do you have anything you want to add in as well?
I guess just along with the leadership, the also mentoring that I mentioned in my presentation, it is not only because it's a good skill to have, but I've found it to be quite rewarding and kind of to pay it forward. And then also kind of reiterating to myself why I chose this pathway. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's I'll follow up with both what Katie said about mentoring and what Jared said about teaching. So one of the things you'll notice about our campus is that we don't have undergrads because we're the medical campus, but there are opportunities there to teach. So either through graduate programs that maybe your PI is involved with, or there is the CU Denver campus and the Career Development Office now has a Learning to Teach workshop and is helping postdocs who want to learn to teach connect with those teaching opportunities. But one of my favorite things on campus are really our summer programs. So Jared runs an undergrad program, and we have both year-round and summer programs where undergrads come to campus. And I think that is a great opportunity to get those mentoring experiences. Yeah. So I would love to know kind of what you all are most excited about with CU Anschutz kind of going forward. Like what do you see coming in the future of our campus?
Are you talking to us?
Yes, to
Oh.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. It was a quick pivot.
It's really a vibrant place. I think it's growing. We're on the national stage. I think the intersection of basic research and clinic is unique here. And I think, like you mentioned at the very beginning, we're not a huge campus, and so there's really a lot of interaction. We're seeing more and more funding coming in from different places in philanthropy to build different programs. And so it's really just a great community to do research in.
I guess I would add, I'm excited about some of the larger programs we see being developed across the campus. So Bruce highlighted some of those in the very beginning with those, big $20 to $50 million type proposals, stuff like that. We're seeing more and more of that, which I think lends to all of our interest in team science type work across the campus. And so, we all work across different disciplines. And so I think having these larger grant opportunities, and the campus is really invested in trying to facilitate those as well. We're working with the campus right now to submit a large center grant as well. And, they're providing the resources to coordinate all this kind of stuff. And so I just see it's almost like it's snowballing effect right now as far as the campus growing and larger programs and more recognition and stuff like that. So it's a great place to be.
Awesome. And Katie, what about you?
Well, I guess I mean, I haven't been here that long to know what it's been like in the past, but I was just thinking about how I just love the atmosphere here and how much different research I can be exposed to. There are seminar series, every day I can go to a talk about dopamine, and then I can go to one about parental contribution to health outcomes in the offspring. It's just so diverse. And I think it will continue to be that way going into the future, and that makes me excited about science.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, we are coming to the end of our panel, but Lori and Jared, or Dr. Sussel and Dr. Brown, I wanted to see if there was anything else you wanted to add before we open up to Q&A.
I think like we've all said, it's a great place to work. I've been at a couple of different institutes for my career, and I've come back to Colorado. It's not only a great place to live, but it's a great place to work, and it's an exciting place to do research. And I think there's more support here for postdoc fellows than anywhere I've ever been. I mean, we really take your career seriously. And I think, as you see from Bruce and Aaron, there's so much support on campus that you don't get lost. I think sometimes campuses focus on the grad students or the undergrads or the medical students. And here, I think there's a real big focus on the postdoctoral community.
Thanks.
I would just say that, as far as my personal experience, I've always find I develop, even with all my trainees, but the postdocs in particular, a lifelong relationship with them. And the same for me. I still got a relationship with my postdoc mentor as well, and still, talk to him regularly and that kind of stuff, and still go to him for advice. And so when you're looking for a position, I would add, it's important to find that right relationship, and it can really advance your career, even beyond just getting that next position after a postdoc, but it'll continue on for your lifetime.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. So we are going to open up for Q&A in a minute, but before that, I'm actually going to hand it back to Bruce to tell you about how you can find positions on campus. So Bruce, back to you.
Yeah, great. Well, so thank you, Lori, Jared, and Katie. I everything you said was absolutely on brand for who we are. I think those kinds of things, everything you emphasized, that's all the stuff that we hope for people. I hope that for all the attendees, this Jared and Lori are a sampling of. They're not our only two great faculty members, right? They are representative of the great faculty we have on this campus. And so I think, their commitment to mentorship, their commitment to supporting postdocs, you'll find that here. And all of those things about, being big enough to have impact, but small enough to have intimacy. I think that's really what our campus is. And so appreciated all of those comments. So if you are interested in seeing what kind of opportunities there are to do a postdoc here, we do have some formalized way for you to do that. The first is a postdoc jobs board. And so you'll find this on the postdoc office website. We'll send these resources out. But this is a little unique because what we're trying to do is make it known who is actually looking for a postdoc. They may not have a formal position yet, but it's just a statement for people to understand, yes, here's what my lab studies. I'm interested in supporting postdocs. So if you want to see who has actually posted an opportunity, a description where they're open to the idea of a postdoc, you can find that on the postdoc job board. That's partly important because you don't always know who's interested in a postdoc, and can be intimidating sometimes. I think both Lori and Jared made the point of you should be reaching out, but this is a way just for you to have a better sense of who's already said, yes, contact me if you're interested in talking about doing a postdoc. You can find already formalized positions. So if you're looking, especially if you're looking right now to identify that postdoc opportunity, because you've already defended and you're looking for that next position, you can see those on the CU Careers website. So those are positions that have already been posted. And so if you just do a keyword search for postdoc, you'll see all the kinds of opportunities that come up at our institution. But then if you really just want to find out, is this an opportunity? We actually have a mechanism for you to contact faculty to send that inquiry, to provide a little bit of information. So, not necessarily through just tracking down an email and doing the cold email kind of thing, but actually, going through this process where you can provide some information, you can identify faculty from a list, and then send them that contact information. So we will send out this information to all of you who attended today as well. If you have any questions about it, please always contact us. But we're trying to make this a pretty easy way for you to identify those training opportunities on our campus. So with that, Aaron, I'll stop sharing and we can just open it up to questions from the audience.
Aaron, you're on mute.
Well, perfect. Thank you. I was trying to figure out how to unspotlight Bruce because he's the only person I think people can see right now.
Please get that fixed quickly.
Add spotlight. Here we go. I'll spotlight all of our speakers. And I'm going to open it up now for questions. There was one in the chat or a couple in the chat that I'll answer. So if you have questions, you can add them to the chat and I'll read them out, or you can unmute and ask. But our first question was, could you please explain a little bit about the research core facilities that are available in-house?
We have a broad range of core facilities here. We're a cancer center, and so a lot of the core facilities are within the cancer center, and that includes genomics core for doing single cell RNA sequencing. There's spatial sequencing, spatial proteomics. There's actually both in the School of Pharmacy and in the School of Medicine. There's great proteomics core facilities. We have a diabetes center grant that provides core facilities for cytometry. So really we have the whole gamut. And the nice thing is, I think, is we've emphasized, so we have all of the necessary facilities, but being a smaller research base, that we don't really have them oversubscribed. So there's a lot of core facilities for anything you would need on campus. Jared, you can also maybe talk about the molecular or the small molecule screening that you have over there as well.
Yeah, we have a drug discovery core over here where we do a lot of robotics, where we can do screening of different small molecule compounds for all sorts of treatments, things like that. Yeah, we have mass spec cores, we have transgenic animal cores. I mean, it just goes on and on. Flow cytometry cores that we use regularly, all sorts of imaging cores. We've not run into an issue where we've had to go outside of the university for anything, honestly, for all our research.
I think every time I look at the list, there's another core or another machine available as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a couple of different discipline-specific questions. So folks were wanting to know more about research focuses on campus and if there is a focus on orthopedics and prosthetic biomechanics. So I can say yes. And Lori, I don't know if you want to speak to that a little bit. No. Bruce?
Well, I think so. The if we have a clinical focus on campus, there is a research arm to that.
Mhm.
And so within orthopedics, there's absolutely research that's going on, oftentimes in partnership with people who are in bioengineering. Again, thinking about the collaborative nature of our campus and all the different disciplines being in one space. So if you want to know more specifically about what kind of research there is going on, you look at the Department of Orthopedics and see, whether it's surgery, basic science kind of stuff. There are lots of opportunities to do that. So regardless of what you're interested in, I'm pretty confident that if it's related in any way to human health, we're doing research in that space on this campus.
Yep. I'll say also the Department of Biomedical Engineering has a number of research labs in that space as well.
And so the next question is about the neuro and psych, and it just reminds me. So I put a link in the chat to the neuroscience graduate program, and this is one thing that I think is really a way for postdocs to find out certain research areas, is not to look at departments, but to look at the graduate programs, because then they have a lot of the research that's listed. And we have very strong neuroscience here, and also neuropsychology, and you'll see that there's a lot of basic scientists, but also physician scientists that are involved in a lot of these. There's an cognitive aging program here. So I think if you want to know about the research labs or the research that's getting done in a certain focus area, go to the graduate school websites, because they list a lot of these faculty and they list what they're working on. So it's a great resource for you.
I'll jump in and share also that this is the third one of these recruitment events that we've done in the past year and a half. And one of the great things about doing these virtually is that we've been able to record our panels. So we have 2 other faculty panels up on our YouTube playlist, which I can share in the chat, where we did talk a lot about some of the different departments and research that are being done there. So I encourage you to watch those as well. Yeah. What other questions do folks have? Oh, go ahead, Bruce.
And Aaron, I would say to that too, we are hoping that this is the start of a conversation with you, that we've given you reason to consider CU Anschutz. And as you have questions, reach out to us. If something comes to you later, or you want more specifics about, here's what I do. Do you know anybody doing research in this space? We are happy to help connect you to the right resources so you can figure those kinds of things out.
Absolutely. And I will say something else that's a fun plug. Maybe you said this already, Bruce, and I missed it. But if you're coming through Denver for a conference or vacation, a lot of people come through town, let us know. We're happy to give you a tour of campus, introduce you to people. We love meeting folks.
Yeah, the other thing we're trying to do is partner with the Keystone Symposia. So if you know about these national symposia, we're trying to have like a pre-meeting on campus for students and postdocs to present their research, sort of a way for you to get to know our campus before you go up to a meeting in the mountains.
Yeah. Fantastic. What other questions do folks have? Please feel free to unmute yourself if you want to ask. Or we just answered all your questions so well. Oh, great. Cost of living would mention is competitive. What would a salary range for postdocs be? Or does that depend on the award or university?
So what our university policy is, we follow the NIH NRSA rates. So currently it's, was it 62, 232, something like that. And then it goes up to, so that's year 0. And then it's up to 75, I think, on the high end. So our university policy requires that as a postdoc, you are compensated at or above your years of experience. So that's the posted range. We don't have an upper limit. We have a lot of postdocs that are compensated above that range. whether you have a grant or that's the arrangement you made with your faculty advisor. So again, you know, as you come in, you always have the opportunity to negotiate. You know, I think I'm coming in, I did another postdoc here. So this is my second year postdoc or second postdoc. I'd like to start at level 3. You can talk about that. I'm bringing this unique skill set to this space. Some departments have specific postdoc policies that are above those university policies. So, you know, for that typical range, at a minimum, it would be what's posted in the NRSA rates. And then as those get updated and changed, our university policies change for that as well.
That's a great question.
And I would just add to that too, you know, we talk about salary and it's absolutely a critical thing, but it's one piece of your compensation package. So your health, dental, vision is the same insurance that faculty and staff get. So it's full kind of insurance benefits in that way. Having the tuition assistant benefit, having paid parental leave, all of those kinds of things roll into this as well. And I think that we certainly are much more generous in that space than a lot of other institutions. So just as you're thinking about, you know, cost of living things, and I would say where you are at matters a lot. So when you're looking at this and you're calculating and you know, using a cost of living calculator to figure out, you know, how much does it really, how, you know, what would that really give me as take home kind of stuff. All of those things really matter. And this was that kind of point that we were making about, you know, when you look at, you know, Denver versus San Diego, apples are not apples, right? And so really thinking about, you know, what would that be here? But then also, these are the kinds of questions to talk to other postdocs about, to ask other people in the lab when you're doing those visits, you know, how affordable is it? Where can you live? All of those other kinds of things. That this is really one of those things that we would encourage you to consider when you're trying to identify, is this the right place for you?
I'll emphasize also our health insurance is fantastic. For those of you who might be in a family planning stage of your life, I had a child while I was a postdoc, and I think it cost me a couple $100 to have a child, as opposed to friends who had to pay thousands of dollars. So,
There's a good question about the international scholars. Hopefully you guys can answer that.
yeah, so wondering if we could share what resources or support are available for international postdocs, and whether there have been recent changes regarding hiring of international scholars.
So we work closely with our Office of International Student and Scholar Services. So ISSS, they're the organization that helps process visas, helps you get connected at the university. They offer some other programs in addition to the visa support, building community. So they had, for a number of years now, they've run a WhatsApp group. So as people are coming into the States, they get connected with community, and then monthly tea on campus or coffee hours to connect scholars. We have a program called iScore, which is International Scholar Opportunity for Research Exchange. And it is a program that pairs CU Denver undergraduate student with the Anschutz international researcher, so that you have an opportunity to connect with that domestic student, share some of your research with them, build teaching and mentoring opportunities. So they have, you know, some formal processing support, but then also some programmatic support that they provide. And the postdoc office works very closely with them to try to make sure that we're, you know, providing some of that support. The Postdoc Association also has an international officer position that's thinking about how do we build more connection and community for our international postdocs.
Yeah, can I just add?
Yeah,
Well,
please.
this with an anecdote, because I had a postdoc come in from South Korea, and I reached out to Bruce and said, you know, I've got this postdoc coming from South Korea. Could you connect him with other postdocs from South Korea on campus? And he did, and they became really good friends. But, you know, they basically helped them find a place to live, buy a car. So it really, the networking was really great. And then when basically my postdoc Young fed that forward to when another South Korean postdoc came. So it's really, we try and connect you with each other, so you're not just thrown into a community that you really don't have any connections to.
Thanks for sharing that, Lori. I think it's such a great example too about being a smaller campus. Like I can't imagine doing that when you have, so many people, 2,500 postdocs on campus that, we're small enough to build some of that community and those personal connections. For the second part of the question, we haven't seen hiring practices. It's all going to depend on work authorization. So we are at the mercy of whatever the visa process is and what it's going to be. We don't have any university policies that are separate from that. So again, whether it's getting a J1 or an H1, most of our postdocs are J1 scholars, although we do have H1B scholars as well. So that piece you'd have to have figured out. We have had a number of postdocs who have come on their F. So in OPT is continuation from their student visa. So as long as that process is worked out, we don't have any restrictions on hiring for that. But we are at the mercy of whatever the State Department decides it's going to do for those programs.
The next question is about partner matching. So somebody's partner is looking at doing a residency at Children's, and they're interested in a postdoc at Anschutz, and they are asking if we have any partner matching programs so that they can be in the same place.
I don't know if formal partner matching programs, but these are conversations that I would definitely have. I mean, I think if your partner is matched here for their residency and you're trying to identify a postdoc, I'm pretty confident we can help you have enough conversations that that's a realistic possibility. It would likely not be supported at the same level. But again, in terms of facilitating those conversations, those are definitely the kinds of things that we can help with.
Also, just to emphasize, Children's is on the same campus as us, so it's not like you're going to be in a different place if that's part of what you're looking at. We're like Children's is for me a 2-minute walk.
I'm looking at it out my window right now. Fantastic. So somebody asked, they appreciate that we've mentioned a lot of opportunities with clinical or cross-field collaborations. And we also mentioned that postdocs can take class credits. So are there degrees that postdocs can take? I'm wondering maybe if they mean in the clinical space or even an MD, but yeah, what are some ways that postdocs can take advantage of those class credits?
Okay. I think the tuition benefit is something that is available to you. We have a number of certificates. We have master's degrees. Our clinical sciences program, clinical sciences, there's a master's program and a PhD actually. And oftentimes in the clinical sciences program that's run through the CCTSI, the people who are earning those degrees are other healthcare professionals, they're physicians, they're clinicians. And so, if you were interested in getting a master's degree in clinical sciences, that's absolutely something that you could pursue from that. I think it's going to depend on, what is your goal? What is the outcome? What are you trying to accomplish with that? Whether that additional degree is necessary or if you just want to take courses in different spaces. So those are things that, would really be situation dependent and would depend on what you're trying to do with it. But the university system provides this very generous tuition benefit, and postdocs have access to that. So you would have, as I mentioned, up to 12 credits that you could use towards earning that additional degree.
Mm-hmm. And it can be for you or a family member, correct?
Yes, it's for you. You can a dependent can use it as well. So there are opportunities to take advantage of that, whether it's yourself or someone in your family. Yeah, great point, Erin.
Mm-hmm. Great. Next question is asking about collaborative relationships between the other campuses like Boulder, or one thing we didn't mention is that we have a VA hospital right next door, and other clinical areas. So yeah, what do some of those collaborations look like?
Lori, do you want to talk about AV Nexus?
Yeah, I guess I can talk about AV Nexus. So we have a program. It's a program that we started to have pilot and feasibility grants that basically pair a lab on the Boulder campus with a lab on the Anschutz campus. And so we're really trying to promote that interaction because there's definitely some research going on at Boulder that complements the research that's going on here on the Anschutz campus. So we're really trying to facilitate that. And I think there's more and more of a connection. I mentioned RNA biology. We have joint seminars, weekly seminars with Boulder between the RNA group. So there's a lot of interactions that are there. Also, it is a small campus where we interact well. For Children's Hospital, my primary appointment's in pediatrics. So I'm affiliated with Children's Hospital. The VA's here. One of our faculty, actually our bioengineer, has a VA appointment. So really the nice thing is there's no barriers. There's a lot of collaboration between all aspects of the campus, all of the different units and Boulder. And so, we've basically taken down those departmental barriers. You really can cross the campus. And even, Jared and I are in different schools. Jared's in the School of Pharmacy, I'm in the School of Medicine. Doesn't matter. It just means that we're in different buildings.
And I would add that it's not just across the campuses, but across the state in general. I think it's a close-knit group of researchers across the entire state of Colorado, I think. We do a lot with Colorado State University as well, not just Boulder. Colorado School of Mines, other places as well. So there's a lot of collaboration across the state in general.
Yeah, that's true. School of Mines, we have an adjunct professor she's at the School of Mines as her primary appointment, but she comes and uses our resources because they don't have them there as mines. So there's a lot of collaboration.
Yeah, both great points. And so our CTSI, so our Clinical Translational Sciences Award, that also serves Boulder and CSU. So that brings together the other campuses. Our Colorado School of Public Health, that actually is the School of Public Health at Colorado State University as well. And so we have some of these formalized connections through some of our other programs. But I think to those other points, we're really in this together. And if there are opportunities that somebody's doing research at a campus that's not our campus and you'd like to collaborate with them, there certainly is precedent for doing those things.
I'd say precedent and funding.
Hi, is it okay if I
Yes, please.
first thank you all very much for taking part of this panel. It's been super helpful information. I really appreciate it. But second, my question is, so you mentioned connections, of course, in academia across multiple campuses, and you mentioned connections around Denver and mid-sized biotech, but can you speak to possible networking or opportunities for connections within government or nonprofit or science policy that you all have? Thank you.
Bruce, I'll let you take that.
Are you gonna let me take? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Yeah. So one of the things that we are trying. So when I think about MBA programs, what's the value of the MBA program? It's the alumni network. It's the connections that you have, right? It's not like the content's not that different. It's the people you have access to after that. We try to adopt a lot of that same philosophy by connecting, with our alumni who have moved into those different spaces. So I mentioned Mark Lucera, who did the AAAS fellowship, and he moved into science policy on the government level. We've had a number of our alumni who have gone through the AAAS program who are now working in different spaces. We actually have a group on campus called Project Bridge. Aaron started Project Bridge here, but it is a science communication and science policy organization. And so this is an opportunity to connect with people kind of locally on campus, students and postdocs that are interested in science policy and science advocacy. But it also connects to people who have then moved on into different careers. There's a former member who works for the National Science Policy Network and is now works for the MS Society, doing other stuff there. So, connections to people is probably one of the best ways that we can help with the science policy government work space. California has a pretty big science policy fellowship. Colorado is in the process or has just recently launched their own. And so if that's something you're interested in, there are ways to connect with that. Again, thinking through a lot of our public health researchers, they move into government positions, those state positions. So again, if that is your interest, our role is really helping you connect to those opportunities. And that's true for whatever you want to do. If it's medical writing, if it's being a medical science liaison, if it's business development at a biotech company, if it's a straight scientist position, really, whatever you're interested in, our role is to help you make those connections, whether it's to the people or the programs, so that, at the end of your postdoc, you're able to transition into the career you're really interested in.
Yeah, I'll reemphasize that with just saying like Bruce, Hannah, and I not only pull you into our alumni networks, but I think also our personal professional networks. Really, that is one of the things we enjoy doing, is really helping people connect with those future conversations that might lead to future careers. And if we don't know someone, we know someone who knows someone.
I'll tell you my secret. So we for many years have run a LinkedIn workshop to help people make the most of their LinkedIn profiles. One of those assignments is that you got to connect with me. And part of that is so that I have connections to people as they go forward in their career. And so really it is, I am very open. If you're interested in science policy, I can give you a list of alumni who I've worked with personally who are now doing this kind of work. So you can make those connections. So as you come through our space, it's the same kind of thing. I don't know what you're going to end up doing, but at some point we're going to invite you back for an alumni talk. You're going to be that connection for the next postdoc who's interested in that kind of career. So again, that's one of the challenges. Like, what can you do with your postdoctoral training? You can do anything. There's so many different things you can do. So we've really taken more of that personal approach, which is we want to get you feeling confident and empowered to know what you want to do and make connections with people, but then get you connected to those people so that you know how to make those transitions.
Yeah, great. Next question is, could you elaborate with the on the biotech space within your department? So I don't know if that's biotech collaborations or biotech that might be developed on campus.
So I would say for this, I would want to make sure that we
Collaboration, got
collaboration.
it.
Yeah, biotech space within. So is the question about collaboration with biotech in the state, or what am I missing, Aaron?
Probably with anywhere on campus, it's not, because every department's different. So
Lori or Jared, do you want to speak to that?
I don't know, Lori, you probably have more insight than I do. Our school in general, being a school of pharmacy, right? We have a lot of biotech pharmaceutical connections, and me personally, I don't do that work, but we definitely have it within our school. We have all sorts of, particularly for PhD students, internships. We do a lot of our funding actually comes from collaborations with biotech and industry partners who fund part of our research that we do here and things like that as well. So it's a big part of our school, for sure.
Oh, Lori,
do you want to talk about the innovation?
Yeah. So where I was starting with that one before I got tripped up in my own head is really pointing towards CU Innovations. So CU Innovations on campus is really that umbrella for all biotech kind of things, commercialized things that happen on campus, but it's also building the partnerships with biotech. So we have the Fitzsimmons Innovation Community on campus. So there are a lot of incubators and startup companies right here on campus, but also building those stronger connections to the Colorado Bioscience Association, Colorado Bioscience Institute. All of that stuff really goes through CU Innovations. And if you want to see a list of the kinds of companies that we have collaborated with or companies that have been developed, all of that stuff is available on the CU Innovations website. So I think we have innovation is highly prioritized on our campus. The university has invested heavily in that. This is one of those areas where we really do excel nationally, is in our innovation space. And so I think that we have a very positive biotech mindset that what we're trying to do here is take what we're discovering and turn that into something that's really going to make an impact on somebody's life. And so that is something that is definitely an emphasis on campus. But for more information, I would really point to the CU Innovations website for it. And we'll make a note and we can put that in the other materials that we send out afterwards.
Absolutely. And the Denver Boulder Corridor in 2023 brought in the most venture capital money in the country. And I would say that CU Anschutz really is the anchor of that biotech, bioinnovation space. So keeping an eye on time, if there are no more questions, I think we're going to wrap it up here. I will put a link now to our prospective postdocs website in the chat. And then just a reminder to please reach out to us with any questions. Bruce and I both are happy to meet one-on-one with people. And if you go to our website to the About Us section, there's a place to make an appointment. And with that, I just want to say thank you to our presenters, Dr. Brown, Dr. Sussel, and Dr. Renard, and thank all of you for coming.
Thank you.
Also, Dr. Mant, I thank you too.
Mhm.
I'm a happy afterthought. That's all good. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time.